Welcome to How It Works, a video series from Law Sites and LawNext, in which you get to see hands-on demonstrations of legal tech products directly from their developers. On today's episode, we're going to take a look at BoostDraft, an AI-driven contract review product that works directly within Word. And joining me to tell us all about it and show us how it works is Shawn Meehan, Senior Vice President of Sales at BoostDraft. Shawn, welcome.
Thank you, Bob. Great to be here.
So before we get into the demo, why don't you tell us a little bit about BoostDraft and what you do?
BoostDraft accelerates drafting, review, and redlining of contracts by combining AI with rule-based automation directly in Microsoft Word. That description highlights a few reasons why we think we're distinct. First, the software was designed specifically for Microsoft Word. Our co-founders had the insight to apply the principles of software coding to contract drafting, and they had the further insight to do so in Word because that's where the majority of attorneys work. Next, we do try to apply the right tool to the right task. AI is great for many things, such as summarization, but it's not great for everything, at least not yet, such as proofreading. And so that's why we try to combine both AI and rule-based automation. And then finally, BoostDraft operates in one environment that allows our users to quickly and easily navigate while avoiding the risk when moving from one platform to another.
And who are your users? Who's this for?
So we serve both law firms of all sizes, the Am Laws in the US, the Magic Circle in the UK, Big Five in Japan, mid-market firms, but also in-house counsel.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it works, so why don't we just dive right into it?
Great. BoostDraft is in the first instance for Microsoft Word, and so it appears as a ribbon, as other add-ins do within Microsoft Word. For our users, part of the goal is to allow them to quickly and easily navigate to any section, subsection, or sub-subsection within a document. And then once there, make all of the references readily accessible. And many of them are done so in our kind of signature pop-up windows. So I've just clicked on this defined term. The user is in section 2.1 in this investor's rights agreement, but they don't need to navigate to the actual definition to have access to it. And in fact, once they've opened up a definition within one of these windows, they can even edit the definition right from the pop-up. And then they can just simply apply that and it will take hold within the document itself. The same concept applies to cross-references. Again, users can just simply point, click, get access to what they need without having to navigate away, without having to scroll. Really a way to save time as users are locked into their workflows. Everything I just showed you is within this particular document, within this investor's rights agreement, but we do also have the ability to go in to other related agreements. So in this case, I'm clicking on another definition. This definition happens to be in a related document. And so here I can just simply open the related document, still have immediate access to that definition, but then just toggle back to my original point. Bob, did you have any questions about the pop-ups that we use?
Does that ability to search across documents depend on where the documents are stored?
It does not. In the first instance, we ask our users, at least for now, to directly make a connection between the two documents. And then once they do, that will persist each and every time they open up the document, regardless of where the related documents exist.
Okay, thanks.
The next feature I wanted to highlight is our proofreading feature. This is where the software will go in This is rules-based, so it's essentially running an algorithm over the totality of your contract. And unlike other software, it isn't automatically making changes. Instead, it's rendering back a series of potential errors and omissions. It's going to classify them, as you can see here on the left, based on the type of error or omission. And then it's going to allow the end user the ability to go in and make adjustments as needed. In most instances, the user can just simply click up top, highlight all of the instances, all of the potential errors or omissions, and then fix those that can be fixed automatically. So examples include capitalization, terms that should be capitalized that are not, cross-references that are mistyped or missing, inconsistencies when it comes to numbers, for example. So a range of tasks that can be automatically updated to save the user's time, but still improve the quality of the document. There are other instances where more discretion is required. For example, the software will flag instances in which terms were defined and not used, or terms that potentially should be defined that haven't been. And in those instances, there's more discretion, so the user has to be directly involved. Any questions about the proofreading?
I assume that if I automatically correct, say, numbering errors, that those numbers will carry throughout the document.
Correct. Any of those changes would just simply propagate throughout the document. Exactly. Okay. The next feature I wanted to highlight relates to AI. As I had mentioned at the onset, BoostDraft combines AI with that rule-based automation. We do have our own chatbot. The chatbot is good at summarization. So as you can see here, the chatbot will go in, it will provide a fairly detailed summarization of the document that you're looking at, and it will allow the user to then quickly navigate again to the section or sections of interest to them. The chatbot also will allow the user to quickly and easily query the document. So and again, it's going to provide not just the description. Here I asked about the employee stock option requirements under this investors' rights agreement, but it's also going to contain access to the actual sections that are being referenced as a way, again, to quickly and easily navigate through that. Did you have any questions about the chatbot that we call Ask AI?
So I guess the question, and I don't know whether this is something you're going to get to, is whether I can use that feature to, say, redraft a clause where I have some concerns with the way it's worded and I want to come up with a new version of it or something like that.
Yes, that's a great question, and it does relate to the next section that I'm going to reference. Ultimately, we are using different frontier models, and we're plugging in the model that's most suitable for the particular task at hand. Mm-hmm. But the underlying technology is going to be comparable. For what you've just described, we do have this review feature where essentially the user can take the document that they're working on and they can specify if they want to compare that document against a template. So this is coming from either the firm or the company's own repository, a policy, or a playbook. In this case, again, we're dealing with this investors' rights agreement. I've selected the policy that we have on file, and this can be selected from wherever the organization stores its documents. And then I'm going to run this review. Once the review is done, you'll see it will render back where there are gaps and where there are matches. in any instance where there's a gap or what we list as a failed status, the user will have the ability to go in, one, to suggest a revision based upon the review. So if I click on this, it's going to go in and it's going to provide me with some sample language. I can actually replace the section. I can ask for a different suggestion, or I can discard it, as it were. So I think that speaks to what you were describing, Bob, getting some sample language. The user can also just include some comments in the appropriate section.
If you make those kinds of, you say choose replace selection there, is that going to do it as a red line, or how will that do it?
Yeah, it would come in and then it would ultimately provide a red line for the end user.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I did want to just add, from a product roadmap perspective, what we are looking to do is extend this feature beyond just using AI, but actually pulling in the user's own precedents as well. So that is something that's under development. So you would have access not just to AI recommended clauses or components, but you would have access to your own underlying precedents or prior work product as well. Any other questions about that, Bob?
No, you did. You answered exactly my question.
And then the last component I simply wanted to highlight is the ability that we offer to redline. And so this can be launched right from the BoostDraft ribbon. There is a slightly different interface, but again, it's essentially the same environment. The user can select, or it will preload the document that the user has selected. The user can select a revised document, but in fact, the user can even go beyond the document that they're working in. Ultimately, BoostDraft does support the ability to redline Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, and PDF files. And because we have OCR built in, you can convert images to machine readable files as well. The user also has control. It's another theme that we try to propagate throughout the experience, where they can decide really what it is they want to compare or redline and what they want the output format to look like. In this case, I've selected a PDF, which would be easy to share amongst end users. You'll see instances in which information has been added, that's in blue, or information has been removed, or in this case, renumbered, which is in red. The user also has the ability, if I was to go back in here, run the comparison, to also have the results rendered back as a Word document. Again, you're going to see the results. The difference now is you're working in Word. The results are going to appear as track changes, and the user would have access to a new master file going forward. Any questions about that?
No, that's very straightforward.
And that's really the essence of what we had wanted to cover in the course of this discussion.
That was really interesting. I really appreciated the opportunity to see BoostDraft. So for anybody watching this right now who wants to find out more or interested in learning more details, how do they do that?
Yes, I would recommend that people go to the BoostDraft website, which is boostdraft.com. I should mention that the company does operate here in the States, but our parent company is in Japan. So there are different versions of the site, but if you're in the US, if you're in Canada, the UK, you can go right to boostdraft.com.
Shawn, thanks so much. I really appreciated the demo today.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bob.
That's it for this episode of How It Works. You can find the full series on YouTube. Just search for How It Works there. We're also in the LawNext Legal Tech directory at directory.lawnext.com. This is Bob Ambrogi. Thanks for being with us today.